Tonight on BoonTube is how to outline your paper. So I've got all my note cards here in front of me, which you can't see, but that's okay. And I have organized them according to the last video. I have 3 sections to my paper, according to the research. I have 1, biography or background, 2, importance in history, and 3, importance to the U.S. today. And I have my cat meowing at my feet. In my outline, though, I also need to make sure I put in an introduction and conclusion. So I'm going to start off with my introduction by doing Roman numeral 1, or I from the keyboard. And I have my introduction. Now, to make sure all my information stays organized on my outline, after I press enter, I'm going to press tab. And then I will have the actual information all next to letters. So I'm going to start off my introduction with something that sort of eases the reader or the audience into the topic. So I'm not just going to jump right into, for me, talking about Susan B. Anthony was born on blah, 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 blah. That's going to go in my first paragraph. I want to start off with something about maybe why I'm writing about her at all without using first person. So I might say something like, Susan B. Anthony is virtually unknown today. However, she has had a major impact on history. Then I'm going to press enter, it goes to B, and I'm going to put my thesis statement. And your thesis statement can be as simple as naming off your 3 main points. So, from her childhood to her adulthood, Anthony has impacted the U.S. today. So that basically outlines for my reader the 3 movements or the 3 topics that I'm going to cover in my paper. And notice I'm here in Google Docs, and so it's nice because it will format this whole thing for you. Also up here on the left-hand side, oftentimes what I notice is students lose their documents because they don't title it. So before I go any further, I'm going to make sure I title it. And it's going to be Susan B. Anthony Outline. And then I click back over in my document, and I'm going to press enter twice, and it's going to take me to Roman numeral 2. And now I can go with my first main point. And since my paper is on a person, it's going to be biography. This is where I'm going to start transferring information from my note cards into my outline. So I go to my first pile that I've organized, and I wrote all of my information down, all of my research, in direct quotations. That way I know that it's not plagiarized and I don't get confused. As I go, when I'm writing my actual paper, I might take some of this information and put it in my own words, but I'll know that I did that rather than trying to second guess myself from the information on my note cards. Hi, Serena. Okay, so for example, the first piece of information I have for this section is that Susan B. Anthony was born February 15th, 1820 in Adams, Massachusetts. Side note, in my actual paper, I'm not going to use any abbreviations, but this is my outline. I want it to be quick and dirty. So I'm using abbreviations here with February and here with Massachusetts, and it's okay. I just know when I write my actual paper, I'm going to spell everything out. That note card goes away. My next piece of information is that Susan B. Anthony never married. Thanks for setting precedents for the feminist, Susan B. Anthony. And so on and so forth. I have other information, but I'll stop here for the sake of time. So then I'm going to press enter again, twice. And now this takes me to Anthony's importance in history. This is the section that is all about what did she do when she was living that was so significant. And I've got lots of information here, but I'll just put in a couple. So the first thing that happened with her that spurred her on to trying to get women the vote and getting women more rights is that she was denied a chance to speak at a temperance convention because she was a woman. There's my information there. Another piece that might be important, along with activist Elizabeth Cady Stanton, Anthony founded the National Woman Suffrage. Wow, with the spelling. You don't have to worry about spelling in your outline. This is all about ideas. Spelling, grammar, punctuation, mechanics, all of that we're going to focus on the week of finals. And I will show you a few websites that you can use and some tips and tricks that you can help each other with as well. Association in 1869. Okay. And then once I get all my information down, remember this is just shortened for the sake of time and to give you the gist of what to do with your outline. Enter twice. I'm going on to my last main point, which is importance to the U.S. today. And I might put down information like her face is on a coin. There is a Susan B. Anthony Center for Woman Leadership and other information. The fifth paragraph of your paper is going to be your conclusion. And conclusions sometimes can really stress people out. There's a lot more that goes into conclusions that you will talk about next year in your senior papers. And of course that you'll need to know for those of you who are going on to college. However, for now, there's a really simple formula for conclusions. And we actually talked about this with your Tree Grows in Brooklyn paper. First, you want to title it Conclusion. The next thing you do is restate your 3 main points. And that could be just talking about how Susan B. Anthony grew up in a political home, born in the 1800s when women had few rights. So notice I'm taking this information and I'm making it relevant to the topic here. I'm not just regurgitating it, or basically that means vomiting it back up. I'm relating it to this whole idea that the reason why Susan B. Anthony is so important for my paper is that she fought for women to have more rights, etc., etc. I would add in more information. The next part will be the importance in history. She fought for women's rights in the temperance and abolition movements. And I know that that's not up here, but that is one of the things that I had researched. So I'm just using it as an example of the sorts of points I want to make sure I review in my conclusion. That's really what your conclusion is. It's a review of all the big ideas from your paper so that when your reader walks away, they remember the most important parts. And you want your paper to be memorable. You don't want to just get this done and turn it in and blah, you're good to go. The problem with doing that is that you end up with a cruddy paper. A good paper is going to be clear, it's going to be organized, and it's going to be memorable. It's got to be information that I'm going to feel like I'll always remember. And there are students' papers that I actually remember because they did this sort of thing. Then, of course, this last part here, important to the U.S. today, face on a coin. Center for Women Leader. It's probably Women Leadership. Get your life together. Yada, yada, yada. There's one more thing that you need to make sure you do. And that's to end it on a good note. And a lot